past few years, New Zealand Rugby has significantly upped its investment in the women's game. The introduction of regional performance hubs, full-time contracts for our top Black Ferns, and now a new semi-professional competition with the launch of Super Rugby Aotearoa.
And it's to Roos in the middle. Good, nice, quick ball off the top.
News of each milestone has not always been well received in the comment sections. A perennial argument: why should we be throwing money at the women's game when they don't bring any in? Quick fact check.
Well, the Black Ferns already earn a revenue, so the naysayers that say there's no money for the Black Ferns don't know what they're talking about.
Another familiar refrain: the lack of support for women's sport is the free market in action, ladies. So we asked an actual professor of economics.
That's ridiculous.
Care to elaborate, Professor?
Women's sports was literally banned by men. Men didn't let women play sports. So this is discrimination, and that goes back, a century or so. And then when we remove the bans and say, okay, you can play, but I'm not going to give you any support. I'm not going to give you any financial support. I'm not going to give you an investment. But if you want to play in the park, go ahead. And so for decades, that's what women were getting. They were getting very little in the way of investment. And so there was no way in the world for women to really participate in sports in large numbers. There was no way for a professional league to start. And only in the last few decades have we got to a point where young girls have been allowed to play sports, been introduced to sports. And that allows you to create a talent base that would allow you to create a professional league when they're older.
There is a compelling numbers argument for investing in the women's game. New Zealand Rugby's player participation data shows it is only the growth in the number of girls and women taking up the game that is preventing its overall numbers from falling off a cliff. For grassroots clubs struggling to keep the lights on as player numbers decline, offering programs for girls and women is an easy way to boost subs.
It's the fastest growing part of our sport. You're going to get subs in, you're going to get more people in, and more people at the clubs is, it's a good thing, right? And then you get the whole holistic approach, and you've got families coming in. It's just a win-win for your communities. So I see the investment both ways.
On a global scale, women provided the golden ticket to rugby's inclusion in the Olympic Games, significantly broadening the sport's reach. And those 8-figure sponsorship deals the All Blacks land? These days, corporate responsibility dictates that brands insist on having women's rugby as part of the deal.
In reality, AIG, a great sponsor of the All Blacks for several years now, launched some fantastic programs. Every single program they launched, including the stuff they did up in Japan, the way they projected the black jersey brand, if you like, on the global stage, they wanted female rugby players in every single one of those. And it's a case in point. AIG would not have seen the same value in investing in New Zealand rugby if we didn't have and didn't cater for the female side of the game. So in a commercial sense, in terms of creativity around advertising, around the look, around the feel, around what you're trying to secure, you're going to alienate or you're going to marginalise yourselves in terms of what's available to you in commercial partner space if you don't invest and have the women's game as part of the game.
Those working in the sector believe the women's game can stand on its own 2 feet commercially, but sports marketers, obsessed with traditional measures such as linear TV ratings and bums on seats, are dropping the ball.
Women's sport isn't just about eyeballs or a media buy. If brands just want their logo to be seen, go out and buy a bunch of ad spots. The value of women's sport is the consideration part of the marketing funnel, those positive brand attributes that they can align with, and use women's rugby, women's sport as a platform to tell their own story, to say, hey, we believe in gender equality, we're progressive, we're innovative, all those great things that you can associate with women's sport.
This has always been our legacy.
For those working at the coalface helping sell a new era of semi-professional women's rugby, that message is starting to get through.
In all my conversations with sponsors, they really see the value in what is being set up as uniquely feminine in the growth of the women's game, and to be able to know that their money and sponsorship is going into a women's team versus going into a larger pot that might go into, might not know where it's going, they see as a real advantage.
David Berry warns any start-up competition like Super Rugby Aotearoa isn't going to be a commercial hit right away. A reminder he often gives to his students is the first Super Bowl, which had some 35,000 empty seats in the stadium.
Leagues that are 25 years or younger don't turn huge profits because there's no fan base yet. It takes decades for that to happen. So when the men come back and say, hey, there's no profit. Yes, exactly. That's how sports works. So you nailed it, that you have totally explained how sports actually works. And it's the same way it worked for men. It'll be the same way it worked for women. That's how sports works.